There will always be those who seek to destroy what we've built. Kato cracks his neck, rolling his shoulders, the fire of battle still alive in his chest. Let them come, he growls, his voice like thunder. I'm ready. Isabella steps forward, her face cold but resolute. There are forces at play that we cannot yet comprehend. This is not the end. It's only the beginning. Her voice carries the weight of knowledge, as though she already knows what will come next. Something darker, something far more dangerous. As the camera pulls back, revealing the vast expanse of the shattered arena and the endless world beyond, a final voice cuts through the silence, low and menacing, like a whisper on the wind. The storm has only begun. And the true battle for the future of the world will test them in ways they cannot yet imagine. Heroes will rise, legends will fall, and in the shadows, new powers will awaken, ready to rewrite the fate of all. A surge of energy erupts from the heart of the ruined Colosseum, a blinding light that forces the warriors to shield their eyes. And as the light fades, there in the distance, standing on the edge of the horizon, a dark figure emerges, eyes glowing with an ancient malice. The figure raises a hand, as if calling to the heroes who stand victorious before them. The ground shakes again, but this time it is not a tremor. It is the start of something far worse. The greatest battles are still to come. The warriors will have to rise, once again, to face the forces that threaten to destroy everything they have fought for. This is the moment they've been waiting for, the true test of strength, honor, and the will to survive. The final war begins now. Stay ready. The fight for the future has only just begun. The scene opens with a sweeping aerial shot of a sprawling city, its skyline jagged and ominous, with towering, gleaming structures juxtaposed against the deep shadows of ancient stone walls. The city's heartbeat pulses through the cobbled streets, each alley filled with whispers, each shadow holding secrets. From the marketplace to the Grand Colosseum, the very air seems charged with anticipation. The city is a melting pot of cultures, a place where warriors, kings, mercenaries, and commoners alike converge for one singular purpose: the Tournament of Shadows. The arena looms ahead, a massive structure carved from the heart of the earth itself, an arena of steel and stone, more like a beast's jaw ready to snap shut than a mere battleground. The sounds of metal scraping against stone echo through the streets, as workers and soldiers prepare for the greatest spectacle known to mankind. The ground trembles as the weight of history presses down upon it. This is no ordinary tournament. It is a test of will, of honor, and above all, of survival. Only the strongest, the most cunning, will walk away with their lives, and the coveted title of Champion of the Shadows. The camera zooms in on the various factions gathered at the gates, each group a world unto itself. The Eastern Dominion warriors, clad in armor of shining gold, their weapons sharp and precise. They bow with reverence before entering the sacred ground, their steely gazes betraying the immense pressure they carry. Honor to their name and families weighs heavy on their shoulders. Then there are the Highland berserkers from the northern wastes, their bodies covered in scars, faces painted with the war colors of their ancestors. Their roars pierce the air as they enter, unfazed by the terrifying atmosphere, ready to spill blood for glory. To them, this is more than a battle. It is their birthright. The desert nomads, their faces obscured by scarves and turbans, carry the air of quiet confidence. With their elusive fighting styles and sharp blades, they are known for their ability to strike when least expected. And finally, the City of Ash, a clan of mysterious warriors who appear to be shrouded in shadows themselves, impossibly fast, devastatingly efficient, and as secretive as the night. But these are not the only factions. This tournament calls warriors from all corners of the earth, from the jungles of the Ivory Coast, the islands of the Pacific Rim, the icy wastes of Siberia, and the dense forests of the Amazon. The sheer diversity of the fighters adds to the spectacle, the weight of their cultural legacies, their unique fighting styles, and their individual motivations give this tournament a global significance, far beyond a mere contest of strength. This is a clash of civilizations, a collision of philosophies, and a proving ground for the ultimate warrior. The camera shifts to the tournament hall, an awe-inspiring Colosseum bathed in golden light. Massive stone columns rise high into the sky, covered in intricate carvings depicting the ancient battles of the first champions. The dust in the air catches the light, giving the entire hall an ethereal glow, as if time itself holds its breath in this place. Around the edges of the arena, crowds of spectators begin to gather, their faces a mix of excitement, fear, and curiosity. The masses come from every walk of life, from the richest nobles to the lowest beggars, and they all share one thing in common: a hunger to witness the ultimate battle for supremacy. As the camera pans over the arena, the stakes become clear. The ground is hard and unforgiving, stained with the blood of past champions. The stands are lined with flags of every color, representing the varied nations and tribes that have come to compete for glory. The air is thick with tension as each fighter is introduced, a silent countdown ticking away in the minds of the spectators. At the heart of it all stands the Grand Master, an ancient figure whose face is obscured by a hood. His voice, when it comes, is like thunder in a storm, steady, powerful, and filled with the weight of 1,000 years of tradition. Warriors of the world, you stand at the threshold of destiny. Here in this arena, you will test the limits of your strength, your cunning, and your will to survive. The path to victory is not for the faint of heart. Only those who embody the true spirit of the warrior will walk away victorious. And remember, honor, strength, and courage are not mere words. Here, they are the very air you breathe. Fight with everything you have, for the shadows wait for no one. As the Grand Master's words fade into the echoes of the hall, the camera closes in on the faces of the fighters, each one locked in their own thoughts. Some are calm, their expressions unreadable, while others are filled with the raw fire of battle. Every warrior here has a personal reason for being part of this tournament: revenge, glory, legacy, redemption. Some fight for the thrill of it, others because they have nothing left to lose. But all are driven by one unshakable truth: in this world, there can only be one victor. And as the first blows are about to land, one question echoes above all others. The camera lingers for a moment longer on the grand arena before cutting to black, leaving the audience on the edge of their seat, hungry for what comes next. Ryu. The master of discipline meet Ryu, the disciplined martial artist whose fists are like thunder and whose will is unbreakable. His movements are precise, every strike calculated, every breath measured. The Eastern Dominion's greatest fighter, Ryu has honed his body and mind through years of relentless training. His sword is an extension of his arm, and his every action is a testament to the teachings of his ancestors. There is no room for error in his life. Born in the mountains of the Eastern Dominion, Ryu was raised in the sacred art of the Five Winds Fist, a fighting style that blends speed, power, and fluidity into a single unstoppable force. Every inch of his body is trained for combat, his fists capable of shattering stone, his legs fast enough to blur in the wind. But it is not just his physical strength that sets him apart. Ryu is driven by a deeper purpose. His father, once a revered hero of the tournament, was betrayed by a rival faction and killed in his prime. Ryu's mission is simple: to honor his father's legacy and prove that his bloodline still reigns supreme. He has come to the tournament not just to win, but to bury the ghosts of his past and reclaim his family's honor. But despite his perfection, Ryu's heart is troubled. For in the pit of his soul, he is still searching for something, a sense of peace that his battles cannot provide. Each fight brings him closer to the answers he seeks, yet further from the clarity he craves. Will he find redemption, or will the shadows of vengeance consume him? Beside Ryu stands Ken, the fiery American fighter with a spirit as intense as the fire that burns in his chest. His fists crackle with energy, his mind focused on one goal: to prove that he is the best. A brawler by nature, Ken is the embodiment of unrelenting ambition. While Ryu embodies discipline and calm, Ken thrives on chaos and instinct. His every punch is fueled by raw power and emotion. Fierce, unpredictable, and explosive, Ken grew up in the harsh streets of Chicago, where survival meant fighting for everything. His rise to prominence wasn't built on refined techniques or ancient traditions. It was forged in the fire of street brawls, underground fighting rings, and the brutal lessons of betrayal. When he first set his sights on the Tournament of Shadows, it wasn't for glory or riches, it was for something much deeper, redemption. Ken's younger brother, a former champion, was tragically killed during a fight in the tournament years ago, his death shrouded in mystery. The loss left Ken with an unyielding hunger to prove himself and uncover the truth behind his brother's death. The only way to honor his brother's memory and exact justice is to win it all. But Ken is no fool. Beneath the bravado and the intensity lies a mind sharp enough to see his opponent's weaknesses before they even know they have one. He's come to the tournament not just to fight, but to conquer the very idea of what it means to be a champion. His fists will be his message. From the dense forests of the Ivory Coast emerges Talia, a master of stealth, speed, and survival. Her eyes, like hawks, see the smallest detail, and her movements are a blur of lethal grace. A hunter by trade, Talia is a force of nature, her bow more than a weapon. It is an extension of her will. She can kill from a distance, or strike with devastating precision up close, using her dual-fanged daggers, the twin blades she carries at all times. To see her fight is to watch a storm unfold, swift, unrelenting, and merciless. Talia's motivation is clear: revenge. Her family was slaughtered by an unknown force years ago, and she has tracked the killers to this tournament. Her enemies are scattered among the warriors of the arena, each one hiding behind different faces, and Talia's resolve is to seek them out, one by one. Her past has made her a shadow, silent, unpredictable, and terrifying. No one can escape her eyes, and no one can outrun her fury. Yet, even as she hunts for vengeance, there is a part of her that longs for peace. Talia once dreamt of a life free from bloodshed, where the only things she hunted were wild animals. But the world had other plans. The tournament will either restore her family's honor or claim her soul forever. Next, we have Jarek, the towering warrior from the frozen tundras of Siberia. A hulking mass of muscle and iron, Jarek moves with the weight of his heritage, brutal, unyielding, and unstoppable. His size is his weapon, his endurance is his armor, and his battle axe is a symbol of his heritage. Few can withstand his crushing blows, and fewer still can survive a fight with him. In battle, Jarek is a force of nature, relentless as a blizzard, his roar echoing through the arena like the crack of thunder. Jarek's heart beats for one thing and one thing only: survival. Born in the unforgiving north, he knows that the world is a harsh place, where only the strongest thrive. His rise to power was forged through endless battles against beasts and men alike. But beneath the surface lies a hidden truth: he has nothing left to fight for. His village was wiped out by invaders, his family lost to the cold. The tournament is his chance to regain some form of purpose, to give meaning to the endless war within him. Yet as he enters the tournament, he wonders if it's even worth fighting for anymore. Will this tournament give him the closure he craves, or will he become nothing more than a pawn in a game he never asked to play? Last, we have Seraphine, the mysterious warrior from the city of Ash. Cloaked in darkness, her very presence seems to bend the light around her. Fast, silent, and deadly, she is a master of subterfuge, her fighting style as fluid as the shadows themselves. A practitioner of the forbidden Nightblade technique, Seraphine can strike without a sound, her blade so quick it leaves nothing but death in its wake. She is a phantom in human form, and to underestimate her is to sign your own death sentence. Seraphine's goal is unclear to many, even to her fellow warriors. She is driven by something far deeper than victory, a need for control over the very darkness that has shaped her life. Born into a life of crime and deception, Seraphine became the most feared assassin in her city before a tragic betrayal turned her world upside down. Now, she fights not just for herself, but to reclaim the life she lost, to prove that she can master the shadows that once consumed her. Her enemies whisper her name in fear, for they know that the moment she steps into the arena, death follows in her wake. But in Seraphine's heart, the shadows are not just an ally. They are the prison she is desperate to escape. But lurking in the shadows of the Tournament of Shadows, far beyond the bloodied sands and the cries of warriors, is a force far more insidious than any fighter on the field. A figure shrouded in secrecy, his name whispered with terror, but rarely spoken aloud, the Dark Tyrant. He is no mere man. He is an idea, a plague that has spread like wildfire across the continents, leaving devastation in its wake. His true identity remains a mystery, his motives hidden beneath layers of manipulation and deception. To the world, he is a phantom, a whisper, an ever-present threat lurking in the dark corners of power. But his reach is undeniable. No kingdom, no empire, no tribe is beyond his grasp. The Dark Tyrant has spent decades building an empire from the shadows, gathering power not just from war, but from fear itself. And now, he has set his eyes on something greater, the ultimate prize, domination. The tournament is not just a contest of strength and skill. It is a calculated move in a far more dangerous game. Behind the scenes, the Dark Tyrant has orchestrated the rise of every faction, every warrior, every conflict, to draw the strongest fighters into one place, into the arena. His goal is not just to see who stands tall in the end. His goal is to destroy the idea of strength itself, to strip away the very foundation upon which honor, courage, and justice stand. The camera cuts to the Dark Tyrant's fortress, a monolithic structure nestled atop a mountain so high that the air itself seems to fight against its existence. Blackened clouds swirl above it, and thunder cracks the sky, as though nature itself recoils in fear. Inside, the air is thick with tension, a strange quiet reigning over the massive obsidian walls. The tyrant's throne room is barren, save for a single chair of black iron, where he sits, a silhouette of shadows. His eyes, if they can even be called eyes, burn with a cold fire, calculating, always calculating. The warriors, they think this tournament is about honor, about glory. How quaint. He stands and walks toward a vast map, its surface marked with the positions of every major player in the tournament. Ryu, Ken, Talia, Jarek, Seraphine, all unwittingly stepping into his trap. His hand hovers over the map, his fingers tracing the lines that connect each warrior to their faction, their world. Slowly, methodically, he moves his finger across the map, crossing borders, crossing oceans, as if each warrior were nothing more than a pawn on a game board. They do not understand. This tournament is nothing. I have already won. What most do not know is that the tournament's existence was a deliberate design by the Dark Tyrant. He has long known that the greatest warriors in the world would eventually come together in this arena, and he has set his plan into motion, a plan that will ultimately cripple the very ideals these warriors fight for. His objective: to sow division, to break the spirit of honor, and to create a world where power is the only currency that matters. The warriors in the arena are not the only victims of his plot. Around the world, kingdoms are falling, societies crumbling. The Dark Tyrant has infiltrated governments, turned allies into enemies, and used manipulation, fear, and assassination to tear down the institutions of power. His influence is insidious, like a virus spreading through the veins of the earth itself. Nations that once stood tall now cower under his influence, unable to strike back. But it is not only his reach that makes him so dangerous. It is his control over the darkest arts of warfare and manipulation. The Dark Tyrant has long studied the forbidden arts, using dark sorcery and ancient technologies to create an army that is unstoppable. The shadows of the tyrant, as they are called, are a terrifying force, silent killers who move like phantoms, leaving only destruction in their wake. They are merciless, relentless, and bred for one purpose: to obey his every command. And when the time is right, they will descend upon the tournament like a plague, striking from the shadows when least expected. It is not just the warriors who must face him. The entire world must stand against his vision of totalitarian control. His reach extends into every nation, every government, every kingdom. But this is more than just a fight for the future of the tournament. This is a fight for the soul of the world itself. As the tournament begins, the warriors are unaware that the final battle they will face will not be one of skill, but of ideology. The arena, once a place for valor, will become the battleground for something far greater. It will be the site of a reckoning, a confrontation between the ideals of strength, honor, and freedom versus the cold, calculating control of the Dark Tyrant. Each of the fighters, Ryu, Ken, Talia, Jarek, and Seraphine, will eventually come to realize the terrible truth. The tournament was never about glory. It was a trap, and their true test will be to confront the Dark Tyrant's army of shadows. To stop his machinations, before they can take root in the world, they will be forced to confront not just the enemies in the arena, but the darker forces that have been manipulating them all along. The tyrant's true plan is almost too horrific to fathom. He doesn't want to simply win the tournament. He wants to reshape the world in his image, to create a new order where strength is measured not by honor or courage, but by his absolute power. He will stop at nothing to break the warriors, to use them as tools in his quest for domination. In the end, the tournament will reveal that the greatest battle the heroes face is not the one against each other, but the fight for the very freedom of their world. The question is no longer who will win the tournament, but whether anyone will survive the rise of the Dark Tyrant. The introduction of the Dark Tyrant shifts the stakes of the tournament from a simple contest of warriors to a global conflict, turning the arena into a battleground not just for survival, but for the future of the world itself. With his manipulations, his army of shadows, and his ambition to reshape everything in his image, the heroes will face a battle that challenges everything they stand for. The tournament of shadows has begun, and the air crackles with anticipation. The grand arena, a coliseum of steel and stone, trembles beneath the weight of the gathered warriors. Each fight is a test of skill, a clash of wills, and with every round, the stakes climb higher. No longer just a battle for honor, this is a fight for survival. The warriors are not just fighting for themselves, they are fighting for the future of the world itself. The first battle erupts with a thunderous roar as the Eastern Dominion's Ryu steps into the arena, his eyes locked with the towering figure of Jarek, the ironclad behemoth from the frozen wastes of Siberia. The contrast between the two fighters is stark. Ryu, agile and precise, a master of fluid motion. Jarek, a mountain of muscle, an unrelenting force of nature. The crowd holds its breath. Ryu takes the first step, his feet light on the ground, as he charges forward like a gust of wind. With a sudden flick of his wrist, his sword slashes through the air in a blow of steel, aiming for Jarek's throat. But Jarek is faster than he appears. His massive axe raised in a sweep, the sting only fueling his desire to win. With a guttural roar, he swings a wide, powerful punch, forcing Talia to leap backward. But Talia is already moving again, this time appearing behind him in a flash. Her daggers flash once more, narrowly missing Ken's throat. But Ken isn't a man to be caught off guard. He pivots on his heels, spinning in a whirlwind of strikes. His fists become a blur of fury as he pushes Talia back, each punch landing with bone-crushing force. Talia's evasive maneuvers become increasingly desperate as she tries to keep up with Ken's relentless barrage. Her dagger strikes become less precise, her movements less fluid, as the sheer power of Ken's blows forces her to retreat. With one final, explosive punch, Ken sends Talia flying across the arena, her body crashing into the stone wall. She collapses, unable to continue. The crowd goes wild as Ken stands victorious, his chest heaving with the intensity of the fight. The final battle of the round is a test of pure speed and technique. Seraphine, the shadow weaver from the city of Ash, faces Ryu once again. But this time, the stakes are different. Ryu has proven himself as the strongest, but Seraphine's methodical and lightning-quick strikes pose a new challenge. The moment the bell rings, Seraphine vanishes into the shadows, disappearing from Ryu's sight in an instant. He spins, his eyes scanning for any movement, but she is already on him. In an instant, her blade flashes through the air, a silent death threat aimed for his neck. But Ryu's reflexes are unmatched. He deflects her strike with his sword, his movements so swift they seem almost impossible. But Seraphine is relentless. She moves like a phantom, darting in and out of the shadows, landing swift cuts with her deadly blade before vanishing again. Ryu's defenses are pushed to the limit, his every move calculated to stay one step ahead of the shadow assassin. With a roar, he launches himself at her, his sword aimed for her heart. But Seraphine is already gone, her shadow melting into the ground like mist. the battle rages on. The arena a blur of speed, shadow, and steel. With every slash, every move, the warriors test the very limits of their strength. But in the end, it is Ryu's unyielding determination and mastery of his craft that prevails. With a swift, precise strike, he lands the final blow, his sword cutting through the shadow like light piercing darkness. Seraphine falls, defeated but not broken. The final fight of the tournament looms large. Ken against Jarek, the fiery American fighter against the ironclad behemoth. Their battle will be a clash of two worlds, raw passion and brute force. It's a fight that will test both warriors like never before. Ken charges forward, fists blazing, but Jarek's axe swings with a terrifying force. Every blow from Jarek is a shockwave, each strike sending vibrations through the arena. The battle is one of speed versus power. Ken's agility against Jarek's overwhelming strength. Each fighter is pushed to their absolute limits. But in the end, it is Ken's heart, his fiery resolve to prove himself, that wins the day. A final, explosive punch to Jarek's chest sends the giant crashing to the ground, and Ken stands victorious, his body bruised but unbroken. The Tournament of Shadows has been a battleground of legends, a place where strength, honor, and courage have been tested time and again. But now, the final fight is upon them. The ultimate showdown looms, the stakes higher than ever before. No longer is this a contest for pride or glory. This is a fight for survival, a battle that will determine the very fate of the world. The warriors stand on the precipice of their greatest trial. Ryu, the disciplined martial artist with a heart as unwavering as steel. Ken, the fiery American fighter whose passion burns brighter than any flame. Talia, the silent huntress who strikes like a shadow in the night. Jarek, the ironclad behemoth, whose strength has shattered all who dared challenge him. And Seraphine, the shadow weaver whose mastery of stealth could cripple even the mightiest. They have fought against each other, against their own limits, but none of them are prepared for what awaits them now. The dark tyrant stands at the edge of the arena, his eyes glowing with an eerie malevolence. He has watched the warriors grow stronger, their skills honed through each grueling battle, but they have no idea what they are truly up against. The shadows of the tyrant have already infiltrated the arena, their presence felt in every corner. The dark tyrant's influence spreads like a disease, infecting everything it touches. His army waits in the wings, ready to strike when the time is right. The warriors have no choice but to face the tyrant's army. And the moment they step onto the battlefield, they are forced to confront their greatest fear, the collapse of everything they fought for. The honor of the tournament, the strength of their resolve, all of it is put to the test in this final moment. The bells of the arena ring, signaling the beginning of the final round. The warriors enter the stage. Ryu, Ken, Talia, Jarek, and Seraphine, their eyes locked in determination. The crowd roars, the tension palpable in the air. This is it. This is the moment that will define them. But something is wrong. The ground beneath their feet begins to tremble, and the arena's walls shift, revealing a hidden passage. The shadows emerge, moving like a wave of darkness, surrounding the warriors from every angle. The warriors are forced to fight not just against each other, but against the monstrous force the dark tyrant has unleashed. Ryu steps forward, his eyes burning with focus. He has fought countless battles, but this one is different. The tyrant's plan is unfolding right before his eyes, and Ryu knows that his greatest challenge lies not in defeating the shadows, but in confronting the very heart of the darkness that seeks to consume the world. The warriors charge, their individual fighting styles blending into a deadly harmony as they face off against the shadows. The arena becomes a blur of movement. Ryu's speed and precision cutting through the dark figures, Ken's explosive strikes tearing into the enemy with raw power, Talia's silent but deadly moves striking from the shadows, Jarek's brute force crushing everything in his path, and Seraphine's ethereal movements disorienting their enemies. But no matter how many they strike down, more appear in their place, like an endless tide of darkness. Each move they make feels like it could their last. They are outnumbered, overwhelmed, but they press on. Ken launches himself into a spinning kick, taking down a dozen shadows with a single blow. But as the dust settles, he is surrounded. His fists crackle with energy as he unleashes his most devastating move, the Shoryuken, sending a shockwave through the air that scatters the shadows like dust in the wind. But there are more. Always more. Talia is a blur of movement, darting between shadows, her daggers flashing in the dim light. She strikes swiftly, her attacks as precise as a surgeon's scalpel. But she's beginning to tire. The shadows keep coming, each one more relentless than the last. Her breath is ragged, her body aching, but she will not stop. Honor, justice, these are the things she fights for. Jarek roars, his fists crushing the shadows with a force that shakes the very foundation of the arena. His armor gleams with the blood of his enemies, but the weight of his strength is starting to slow him down. Each swing of his massive fists sends shockwaves through the battlefield, but even he cannot keep up with the relentless onslaught. His strength is mighty, but it is not enough to stop the tide. And then there's Seraphine. She is everywhere and nowhere at once, her body flowing between the shadows, her every move a ghostly blur. She strikes with deadly accuracy, each hit a perfect arc of destruction. But the shadows are changing, evolving. They're learning her movements. She can feel the pressure mounting, the battle shifting in ways she cannot predict. As the battle rages on, a terrible realization dawns. The Dark Tyrant is not just the puppet master, he is the true enemy, and his power is growing with every moment. From the center of the arena, he rises, his silhouette cutting through the darkness. Ken is beside him, his fists clenched in fury. Talia, Jarek, and Seraphine form a line behind them, each ready to face the Dark Tyrant's wrath. The final showdown begins, the moment of truth. Every punch, every strike, every move could be their last. The world's fate rests in the hands of these warriors. The Dark Tyrant is close now, too close, his power overwhelming. But the warriors know one thing, they must stand together. They must fight with everything they have, or the world will fall into eternal darkness. It all comes down to this. Ryu's eyes meet the tyrant's, and in that moment, the world seems to stop. Every breath is held, every heart races. The final battle begins now. The fight for survival, the fight for honor, the fight for everything. The warriors charge together, united in their purpose, ready to face the darkness, and to defeat it once and for all. The battle rages, and the stakes have never been higher. The Dark Tyrant, his dark power seeping into every corner of the arena, is a force unlike any the warriors have ever faced. But in the face of this overwhelming darkness, something incredible happens. Together, they stand. Ryu, Ken, Talia, Jarek, and Seraphine, united by a common cause, their spirits forged in the heat of battle. Every strike, every clash, is more than just a blow for survival. It's a blow for the world they want to protect, for the honor they've earned, and for the legacy they're creating in this arena of shadows. The arena trembles beneath their feet, the very foundations shaking as the power of the Dark Tyrant surges with every passing second. The final confrontation unfolds before their eyes. Ryu's sword clashes against the tyrant's dark magic, his heart pounding with the weight of the moment. Every move, every attack is life or death. Ken's fists crackle with energy, a barrage of fury that echoes across the battlefield. He throws himself into the fight, every punch fueled by the years of struggle and sacrifice that have led him here. Talia moves like a shadow, striking with lightning speed, each dagger carving through the air, cutting through the enemy, yet always just one step behind the tyrant's increasing power. Jarek, his massive frame a bastion of strength, stands firm as the storm of darkness closes in, his every movement an echo of the indomitable will that refuses to be broken. Seraphine dances like a ghost, her blades flashing in the darkness, a deadly grace that confounds the tyrant's every move. But even she can feel the weight of the darkness threatening to swallow them whole. Together, they push forward, but it's not enough. The Dark Tyrant laughs, a cruel, guttural sound that reverberates through the arena. His power swells, dark tendrils of magic lashing out, striking the warriors one by one. The air grows heavy, the very ground beneath them beginning to buckle as the shadows grow longer, darker, more suffocating. They are not just fighting for survival anymore. They are fighting for their very souls. But then, in a single moment of desperation, Ryu's sword meets the tyrant's heart, and for the briefest instant, time seems to stand still. The world holds its breath. A blinding light erupts as the dark tyrant lets out a scream of fury, his power unraveling in the wake of Ryu's final strike. And just like that, the ground shakes with the force of his fall, the air stills, and the tyrant is gone. The warriors stand victorious, but at what cost? Their bodies are battered, their strength drained, but their resolve remains unbroken. The arena, once a place of glory, now lies in ruin, a symbol of the battle they have fought, the war they have won. But even as they look around, the shadows still linger, whispering of threats yet to come. The tyrant is defeated, but the darkness he left behind has not vanished. It is like a seed, buried deep within the earth, waiting for the right moment to grow. The warriors stand together, but they know this victory may be fleeting. The world is not yet safe. The shadows have only been driven back for now. As the dust settles, Ryu looks over at his comrades, his gaze intense. His battle has ended, but his journey is far from over. The fight for peace, for the future of the world, is just beginning. And the cracks in the fabric of the world's balance are already starting to show. Ken, standing tall beside him, wipes the sweat from his brow. He grins, though there is a darkness in his eyes. He knows the tyrant's defeat was only a temporary victory. There is always someone waiting in the wings, ready to take his place. There will be more battles, more enemies. The fight is never truly over. Talia, her breath ragged, looks around at the wreckage. Her fight for justice has not ended, and she knows there are others out there, in the shadows, plotting in silence. Jarek and Seraphine stand beside her, their expressions grim. They have conquered the tyrant, but the battle has revealed a deeper, more dangerous truth. The darkness is everywhere, and it will not be silenced so easily. Ryu's voice echoes across the battlefield, low and unwavering. This fight is over, but the war is just beginning. As the screen fades to black, a final whisper cuts through the silence. There are darker forces yet to rise. The shadows are far from gone. But this is not the end. It is only the beginning of something far greater. The warrior's story is far from over. A new dawn is coming, but with it, new dangers, new enemies, and new battles that will push the warriors to their very limits. And as the world teeters on the brink of chaos, one question remains: who will rise next?